Hi, it's April from the Noble Garden. In this video, I'm going to go over if you are a first-time gardener and how do you pick your garden spaces, what type of garden do you pick, that kind of things. I am part of a lot of Facebook pages talking about gardening, and there's a lot of new people on there right now that want to garden for the first time, and I think that's awesome, but they have a lot of questions, which they should. And one of the questions is, how do I get started? What do I do while I'm waiting to plant? So what you could be doing right now, this is the month of January. There's not much you can do when it comes to planting, but there's a lot you can do when it's to prepare. So the very first thing you need to do to be able to prepare is find the location. And right now it's a cloudy day. Not probably the best day to shoot this video. Mother Nature, it's going to rain tomorrow, and I really want to get this video for you guys. But the very first thing you want to know is where your sun comes up. So for me, my sun comes up behind those trees and it goes above and behind me. That being said, I picked this area to garden because it gets the most sunlight. And most of my plants love the sun. Now lettuces don't really like a lot of sun, and there's more examples that don't really like a lot of sun. But for the most part, you need 8, 10, 12 hours of sunlight. So that's why I picked this location here, because it was so wide open. Now, I do run into issues of it getting too hot and too much sun possibilities. Now, last year when I gardened, I didn't have that issue. The other part that you need to figure out, and this is a great time to do it because it's a very frosty month, is find out where the lowest point is so that you know where the frost is going to be on your land, where it's a little bit more shaded, the sun doesn't get to it as long. So that way, damn it. Another important factor to look at your land is it flat? Is it hilly? And I actually grow on a hill, so the higher point on my hill, temperature is going to be different than the lower part of my hill. So I know that if I decide to put tomatoes at the end of that hill, that when it frosts, that's the last place that's going to thaw up. It's the first place to stay frozen, and the temperature is going to be lower. So those are things important to look at too. And then after you figure out the place, the next thing you need to do is decide what type of gardening you plan on doing. And there's a big thing about tilling or no tilling. That is a personal decision if you ask me. You do your research on it and you believe what you believe and you go with what you want to do. In my practices now, do not like to do tilling with all the research I've done. I actually really like growing in beds. I feel like I have more control over them, but I'm going to show you my beds. They are longer. I can show you shorter beds, and I have two beds made out of different things. So let me show you examples of garden beds. So this is one of my, I'm pretty sure 12 feet beds. And if you're doing on a smaller scale, this is actually a pretty perfect size. This is what I started with. And literally, actually, to be honest with you, what we're looking at right now, these two beds this way and that far back bed, that is how I started gardening. And my beds were shorter. They weren't as tall. So you could do short beds, tall beds. But this is made out of landscape timbers. This is something that we have just now come to. And yes, it is treated wood. You could do your research on that because that's another one that there's debates on whether it's safe or not. But this other bed I want to show you is made literally just out of 2x4s, I think. And as you can see, that works as well. When I first started out, that's what we did. Short beds made out of just 2x4s. And they were 12 feet long. And I only had 3 beds. And that was how I experimented with. And that is actually a very good suggestion, is start small. Get your hands in it. You're going to make mistakes. There's a lot of learning to do. Find you a YouTube channel, even if mine's not it. Find you a YouTube channel and find you some resources. There is another couple ways you can do beds that I'm going to show you that doesn't require needing wood, because I know wood is expensive right now. These are kind of easier to do, and let me show you what I'm talking about. So this is my berry garden. I know it looks awful right now because it got hit by a windstorm. We still got to fix it, but it actually helped me for this video. Now, I covered my heels up with this black tarp, but for expenses purposes, you do not have to do that. You could literally make the heels just like that that's exposed. This is still considered no-till because you made heels on flat land. And there are some people who garden just like that. They make them rows like that, and that's what they garden from. So I just showed you 2 different types. There's one more type, guys. Well, there's lots more types. Of course, you could pick an area and till it and garden that way. And then there's also container gardening. And that is very beneficial for anyone who doesn't have a lot of land. And there's a lot of resources on container gardening. When we lived on our old property, we did more container gardening. I don't do it much here because you see all the land and space I have. But if you haven't been watching my videos, so you're not aware of my green stock. Now, green stocks are kind of pricey. So you can buy cheaper ones off Amazon. Sometimes you can find things on at your Dollar Tree, and I'll show you this. Here's my green stock. This is another way to growing. And then that right there, they stack just like the green stock, but they're not as sturdy, and I got those from the Dollar Tree. These right here are grow bags, and they are amazing. I love them. The water goes straight through them. They look flimsy, I know, but I grew tomatoes in them and peppers in them, and they both work really well. The thing you can do is get buckets like this. I mean, these are Lowe's buckets, and drill holes in the bottom. And I have planted tomatoes, peppers, potatoes. There's all kinds of things that you can grow in that. Squash, zucchini. So if you can't put stuff in the ground because A, you don't have enough room, or just don't have the money to put a garden together, buckets is another way to do. Those big blue buckets, which I don't have one because we bust them all up, but we've done gardening in that as well. I hope this was helpful. Once you figure out where in your yard you want to garden and how you want to garden, the next thing is soil. And I will tell you from experience, if it's a small area, like in buckets and containers, you could buy topsoil and some type of cow manure and mix those very well together, and they make really good soil, and I enjoyed gardening that way. But now that I have all this room, and even if I had just those 3 beds I showed you at the beginning, 3 12-feet beds, I would find a landscape group around, because they usually sell some type of compost or some type of garden soil. Do ask questions, ask what's in it, but I have been very fortunate with finding that here where I live now, and that's the only way I get soil, because it's more beneficial for me. A, it's better soil, and B, it's better pricing than buying bags. So that is another way to do it. But once you figure out your location, how you're going to grow, and where you're going to get your soil from, you need to figure out your growing zone. And I will do another video talking about growing zone and plants you guys can look forward to. I hope this video was helpful, and I thank you for watching.